we've been off for quite a while. Well, we've been off of YouTube for quite a while. We haven't been off. Been busy cleaning up other projects that we had. We had some long-term stuff I really needed to get out of here. It's kind of hard to find time to do editing, filming, set things up, and then actually get work done while I have, people pounding down my door trying to find out where their car is at. So after taking a year or so off, I'm back. Now, what we're going to be working on today. We've got a Toyota Tacoma and a safety cap. Now, I try not to make videos that there's a million videos out there of, because I'm just going to get lost in the shuffle, and, well, like you, I go out and find out how to do a certain job. I've only found a couple of videos on how to do the Tacoma frame rail safety cap, and one was on the passenger side, and the other one, very comprehensive one, deals with the driver's side, but he didn't get into doing taking down the fuel tank, which on this particular truck we're going to have to do. So basically, it's got the typical frame rot. And then on the spring leaf spring mount, the mount itself is pretty much shot and pushing up through the frame. So this new safety cap comes with that leaf spring mount. I'm going to detail the nitty gritty of this. It is cut and is designed to index into your cab and body mounts. However, you want to make sure all your measurements are where the leaf spring mount is where it's supposed to be. So I'm going to get this up in the air, and well, I'll show you exactly what's going on and how to do this. Step by step, we'll break this down, and hopefully, you learn something from it. Okay, so now I got the car jacked up. The first thing, and the only important thing that I really want to worry about right now, is right here is the leaf spring mount. And because we're cutting this off with the frame, we want to make sure it goes on at the same height, otherwise the truck's going to, be uneven. So the center of the bolt hole at this point is 20¼ inches. So I know once I cut this frame out and I put the new safety cap on, if this is at 20¼ we're golden. So next thing to do is going to be actually to get the fuel tank out. Now, being that I've never had one of these apart before, well, we're going to figure it out together here. So what I see is an emergency brake cable that runs along here, and then goes over to that end of the vehicle and then over to here. So that's going to come off this bracket. Up here, of course, we got fuel lines and the electrical connector. And I'm sure there's a vent line up here someplace. This is looking through the rear wheel well, okay? So looking through the rear wheel well into where the top of the fuel tank is. Those are going to have to be dealt with. And then we've got a bolt here, and I'm sure there's going to be one up front someplace. Another strap. Yeah, right here at the front of the tank. We've got bolt here for the shield, and then I'll use a transmission jack and a piece of wood to gently lower this thing down to earth and slide it out of the way. I guess I don't have to tell you, but I'm going to tell you. You're dealing with a fuel tank. Don't do anything stupid. Don't, just be careful. And take your time. If you need to get a buddy, have him help you out. This guy says there's half a tank of gas in here, so I guess we'll see. So yeah, I'll get some tools and we'll start getting this thing loose, get it dropped down to where I can work on the fuel lines and all that stuff. Now the other option is to pull the bed off, which, well, no. So even then, the fuel tank's still got to come out because we have to cut the back side of the frame here and weld back there. All right, let's get started with that. Okay, so I searched around on the internet and couldn't find anything specific about how these connectors go. And I'm sure more than one person has run into the same frustration that I'm having, or had. So let me try to walk you through this. On top of the fuel tank where the fuel pump is, you have these two connectors. On this gray one, there's this little release tab here. Now, depending on how often or how dirty or how cruddy it is on top of your tank, this is going to be a bear to get off. You may need a pair of pliers to squeeze this and lift straight up. Now, this one has a regular push tab here. So you depress that and pull straight back from the fuel pump and that'll come off. The last thing is that there's this little Christmas tree here. You have to squeeze that from its bracket, which is, let's see if we can do this. Right here, okay? Pull that out and then that whole assembly is free. The fuel lines aren't as bad as I thought they were going to be. All right, you see this little red ring here? You grab this with your thumb, give it a pull, and you don't have to take it off, but I did on the other end. Right, where is it? Right there, okay? And that came off of up here. So at this point, everything on the front of the tank is out of the way and done. Now the back of the tank, a little different. Okay, you've got a vent line. You got a vent line here. It's got a spring clamp that goes on here. And then there's a big quick disconnect fitting here. All right, this is what I really lost my mind with. This is what I've been fighting with. It is just a quick release. So what I did is I took a little pick, got right here with it, sort of walked it back, got a pick up top, and then the whole thing popped off. Now, as far as the fuel filler and neck and all the vent lines for that, there's a couple different ways. I started disconnecting stuff down here. What I found easiest was just to go up to where the gas cap is, remove the 4 screws, and the whole assembly comes out of the way. Now, there's a bracket that holds everything together. I believe goes here. Okay, so I took that bolt out, and then all that's free. So at this point, I'm gonna try lowering the tank, get this thing out of here without it falling on me. So let's see what happens. All right, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is what I would call the hard way of removing a fuel tank. Actually, it wasn't that bad. The hardest part was figuring out the connectors. But as far as clearance and all that, pretty much drops straight down. Now, I can get to work. Well, as expected, the bolt here is seized to the metal sleeve inside the bushing. And of course, that's spinning inside the rubber. Heating it up only made it angrier. So now it's just spinning in there, and I can't knock it out with a really, really big hammer. So, yeah, not uncommon. So I'll just cut that off. I already ordered new bolts for it, and wait for those to get here. Okay, let's do some cutting. And another update from the world of everything that can go wrong that's not supposed to. So, like I was talking about, all the way up front there, the leaf spring bolt is stuck inside the bushing, so it makes it a little difficult to get that out of the way to replace the frame section there. So what I ended up doing here is unbolting the shock, lowering the rear axle down. That, of course, pulled down the whole leaf spring. Now, the problem with that is that inside the leaf spring there's a metal collar that has to be pressed out, which means the entire leaf spring has to come out, and that's why I took the shackle off back here so that I can do that. And then, of course, you know, your two U-bolts got to come out. So just more fun and games to add to the pile of fun and games that we're already into. Now, after all of that, I can get into actually, you know, measuring and cutting the frame and doing what I do, weld. Alright, gang. I didn't record fitting it or welding it because that's kind of boring stuff. I'm not one of those guys that does, you know, a fast forward video with the stupid music, whatever it is that you people listen to these days, playing in the background. I'd rather just get the work done. This isn't a how-to, it's more of just my experience of doing it. I say that in a lot of my videos. So just a couple tips to go over. Before you cut out your frame section, measure from the center of the leaf spring bolt to the back of the cab mount or some other fixed point on the truck. Make sure it's the same on both sides, but before you cut this out, measure that. Okay, and also the other thing is, because you're not going to be moving the truck, measure from the center of the leaf spring bolt to the ground. That way when you put this up in position, that is right back where it's supposed to be. Alright. Other tip for you is you're going to cut this frame, the original frame, up to about here. Okay? And then you're going to fit your cap in place. I'm sorry, you're going to cut to about up here. And then you're going to fit your cap in place. Alright? Do not cut the entire frame. Do not cut the body mounts off. Do not cut the bed mounts off. Over here, do not cut the frame past this. This isn't designed to be a butt welded installation. This is called a safety cap, not a safety butt, safety cap. So you got to have something to weld to. It's not going to be a metal on metal fit on these ends. All right, you're gonna have to fill it in with, you know, some welding wire. It is what it is. What does safety cap do to make sure this doesn't happen anymore? They drill out these two holes down here for you. Those are for drainage. If Toyota did that, and Jeep, and a lot of other manufacturers, well, safety cap wouldn't have a business. All in all, I'm happy with the way it came out. You know, the welds are what they are. You know, you're welding to a dirty frame. You know, you're not going to get Instagram welds on everything that you do. So, a little grinder, a little undercoat, and that's that. Now, one of the things that I did, and I highly suggest that you do, because these come in bare metal. So the inside is done with self-etching primer and black engine paint. The outside, after it was welded, I did with self-etching primer and then undercoated it. Now, why do I use self-etching primer? Because it has lots of zinc in it. All right. So does weld-through primer. So you can sort of substitute one for the other, but you don't have to. Now, you see this broken leaf spring bolt? That's another video. All right. Until we catch you.